Welcome back to In the Oven with Adam and Brad.
What's up, y'all?
It's been an interesting day for us, so the mood is kind of weird, but I think we're ready to go into this.
Yeah.
Some cool updates. DoorDash rolled out our mega bites, as we call them, our edible cookie dough bites.
Yeah, they did.
It's going really well. There are some locations that have started to sell out of certain
almost
flavors.
70%.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You got more info than me, man.
Yeah, sorry. He told me. Yeah, almost 70% has sold out of at least one flavor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Probably pitch and temps because that was on the website so we actually they weren't supposed to roll out until Friday, and then we got started getting tagged on Monday and Tuesday that the bites were people were finding the bites, right. And so then we shared a video about the bites because we hadn't really talked about it much, and then Friday, hearing that they're almost sold out, which is pretty wild. I mean, that's really great information.
Well, when you think about it, and you think about our throughput,
yeah.
People already kind of know the brand in the area now, right?
Yeah.
So they're already seeing our product. We've got repeat customers coming back.
Yeah. And for real, a lot of the messages that I got from people on social media that tried the bites that obviously follow Aubrey and I and stuff was just that hey, I love your cookies, but I really love these bites.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's it's a different dessert. One, it's not like anything you've ever had before. Right. For one, and for two, they said I don't feel guilty about walking by and eating 3 or 4 bites, and then over the course of a couple of days I've eaten the whole bag. Whereas a cookie, you warm it up, you want to eat the whole thing there.
Oh yeah, it's a full deal, man.
Yeah, and so
cookies are huge.
Yeah, and since it is a frozen product, it just doesn't feel as I guess heavy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you warm up that butter and sugar inside the cookies, you eat a whole cookie, it feels heavy. I could eat a whole 8-ounce bag of bites, which would be much larger than a cookie, and be good to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so I'm really excited about those. Obviously they're moving well, so just really excited about all the stuff that we can do in the future.
We've got cups going into a few gas stations, so we're piloting in 3 stores in our local area.
So if you are local, there is an inland gas station on Front Beach Road, kind of before Zoo World.
Yep.
In between Mikado's and Zoo World.
Yeah, new gas station, right? If you're from here, you'll know. But they should be in there soon. As time of airing.
Yeah, I mean, it should be, yeah.
Or within a week
we
or so.
We probably need to go check, honestly.
Yeah. Well, Christian said they're not in there now, but
okay.
They should be in there next week or so. They're in Port St. Joe, and they're in Mexico Beach.
Okay.
So if you guys are in Port St. Joe or Mexico Beach, swing by an inland gas station or a Safeway.
No, Sun Coast or something like that.
Something like that.
But inland, it was on the sign. It was on the
inland gas.
Yeah, inland gas. It's inland gas is the actual gas provider. But yeah, so that's exciting on those. And then I think we're rolling out in some, is it Circle K's or something in Atlanta potentially in the future?
We're talking to a distributor up there that has an in with them.
Yeah.
I don't know the details.
Yeah, it's probably too far out. I get too excited about things and then they don't come to fruition, and then I'm not lying. I promise it was actually a discussion on the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that's all going on. If anyone knows a food distributor out of Canada, that does U.S. and Canada, please let us know.
Yes,
we have some really cool things with Marble Slab Canada, but we've really got to work towards finding a food distributor that is in the U.S. and Canada. Mm-hmm. So probably honestly need to check with people that are in a Michigan area, because that's a big entrance into there, and then people that are over in Seattle area, because whoever's doing stuff on those lines would be
massive
going up
cold
there.
storage.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, but no, I mean, it's just a really cool opportunity with Marble Slab Canada involving our cookies or potentially our bites as well. So a lot of fun on that.
Exciting times.
Yeah, on that front. Everything though in this world just moves so slow. I mean, we've known about DoorDash getting our bites now for 2 months, and it's just now here. So I think that's the hardest part for me. My personality is just one that I want to feel like something's being accomplished, even if I'm not directly working on it. So I love having a team because I'm not working on this thing because I got pulled this direction, but my team is pushing it towards this goal. We know how that feels right now. Our team is tracking things down for us right now. And it is a nice feeling to know that while I'm stopping to do this podcast or while I'm doing something else work related, but not towards that goal, that goal is being achieved. And I think that's
especially in this situation.
Yeah. So
we'll tell y'all about it later. We've got a part of a much larger thing going on that is just blowing our minds.
It just doesn't make sense. And so I can't wait to share this with you. But anyways, while we're talking about work-related stuff, Amazon, I guess Amazon employees are furious that they have now been told they have to go back to work, end of remote work. The CEO has like said, hey, no more remote work. And one, I saw someone joke, it's funny, now my Prime packages are actually saying 1 to 2 days instead of like, I don't know if you remember, like a couple months ago, every time I went to order Prime, it was like going to be like 4+ days later. I felt like if I was ordering on a Sunday, I was like, be delivered by Friday. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Or if I was ordering on a Friday, it was like, it'll be delivered by like Tuesday or Wednesday the next week. What was the reason for that? They're blaming it on like remote work, but okay. I don't know if that's true or not. But
I'm for it. I used to be for the remote work thing, that kind of balance, let people feel, I don't know, some type of way so they don't feel overwhelmed. Dude, you just don't get any work done.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got remote employees, and if they weren't gifted, they would not be remote, and we still contemplate making it whatever, man. It's right. They show up for a week and get like 3 months worth of work done. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this is what work used to be like.
Right. Yeah, it's hard for me because like as an employee, of course I love remote work. And if you ask why, it's like, well, one, you cut out commute. And in a place like Houston, when you're commuting like almost an hour each way, you know, you're cutting out like 2 hours of your day to get stuff done. Obviously, it's easier to have your meals at home, you know. But the truth is, I really enjoyed remote work because like I could do stuff around the house while also working. And it was almost like I became at that point just like a responder. Like I just waited for an email to come in and I would respond to the email.
You're like, I'm working. You're like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm waiting on someone else to get back to me.
Yeah. It felt like I was just like, you know, periodically checking my emails to see like what I was supposed to answer.
They said that I'm going to blow these all out of the order. The amount of time spent communicating about completing a task is now fully like at the corporate level above the time people spend actually doing the task. Yeah. So like, let's say presentations that are going to win you a client are not being made by your team as much as they're being talked about being made by your team.
Right.
So it's just meetings. And I mean, I even feel that here of like just feeling like there's meetings all the time when you're dealing with external entities.
Yeah.
But it's your company versus like their company.
Right.
It's way easier when you're all like in the same room.
Right. Yeah. And I think that goes back to something we already talked about, which is like dopamine.
Yeah.
Which is like, if you've ever seen, I forgot what the name of that book is I read on dopamine, but essentially it just like talks about how like dopamine is a drug. And if you're not careful, just talking about an idea rather than actually doing the idea delivers as much dopamine. So that's why you find nowadays when someone says like, hey, I'm going to do something, and then they actually do the thing, they're considered like, oh, that's a good person. Like they follow through, right? Because so many people just get the dopamine rush of talking about it, and then they don't actually do it because like there's no reward anymore.
Yeah, well, take it a step further. You know, if you're just about your grind and your business, like, I mean, I get it from people all the time. Like, oh, how did you do this? Or how do you do? I work on it.
Yeah.
I do it. Well, I mean, it's like, I've heard you talk about a million things that you're going to do, but
right.
So over here working on mine, you know. But yeah, I'm all for this. You were saying earlier about, you know, make a bet versus, you know, finding a more productive employee. I agree with that.
Yeah, my thing is like, you know, I'd love to, if you work from home and you say that you are more productive at home, I'd love to just hear the reasoning behind it, other than that you may work potentially longer hours. But again, I just feel like there's so much more distraction.
I agree.
Like, I mean, right now I'm like, ooh, I could clean this part of my house, or I could go put away this laundry, you know, and maybe you do. Maybe that's, you take breaks, but you end up working way longer because, hey, I normally leave my house at 6 a.m. and don't come home till 6 p.m. So I'm just going to work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But I would call you in the minority. I really would.
Yeah, nobody's really doing that, and nobody else is really doing that. So what are you doing? And like, yeah, to collaborate on something, you should just be able to walk over there and be like, hey, let's work on this.
Yeah.
Or I need this information from you.
Yeah.
Or blah, blah, blah.
Well, anytime, like our office had random days that people would be working from home. And anytime I felt like someone was working from home, you were like, okay, I might get what I need from them today,
Right.
you know? And
Yeah,
so I think it's just like, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Again, if someone could express to me like how they were more productive and got more done for the company working from home, then
like
let me know.
Computer programmer, you're just in the dark in your cool setup.
The only way that I feel like it would be beneficial is if you lived in a place that had such a high cost of like acquiring office space.
Yeah.
That you're like, it's so much cheaper to have half the office, like to have, like swapping, like hot swapping desks, if you will, you know?
Well, and I mean, there are a lot of very modern things, ad buyers or like, well, I mean, I guess those existed back in the day too. Just like things in the like advertising space that's like tech heavy or like all these making apps talk to each other. But like, again, like you said, you might take breaks and work on stuff around your house. Well, you might take breaks and work on other stuff around your company.
Right.
Be there to just chip in when you're not busy.
Right.
To help someone else.
And then I'll tell you from an employee, like an employee manager, like if you're managing people that are working from home, it's really hard to understand who you can load more work onto.
Yeah.
Like I say all the time, like we have some VAs and I'm like, can they take more work? And it's like, we don't know. You just got to like keep giving more work until they can't take anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's why in a lot of company cultures, there's that one person that gets like all the work thrown on them because they are kind of like always on top of stuff. So you're like, oh, they're always getting stuff done. I feel like they're moving the needle. I'm going to keep giving them work but this person, they take longer on this stuff, you know, and really they're done too. They're just not like pushing it like, oh, look, I'm done. Right. And then the person that's like, I'm done just gets overloaded.
Well, managing people, there's so many layers to that, you know, the self-imposed stress level that everybody seems
we talk
to
about
have
that
in different amounts. And I'm just like, why are you the stressed one in this scenario?
Yeah. I mean,
you ain't got nothing on the line. You're not about to like lose your job. Not about to da-da-da-da-da. I'm just so stressed.
Yeah, people do that when I was at BASF, like in the corporate world. They'd be like, I'm just so stressed. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Because like, they're not going to fire you.
There's a sales technique called the angriest person in the room, right? And so I called Nick out for doing it to us. When we had traveled all that way and they didn't have all the shit they needed to get the machine up and running.
Right.
He was like, nobody's more pissed off than me. And I'm like, you're not going to do that to me, Nick. Why are you the most upset one, dude?
Yeah.
Like, this is a fucking letdown. Yeah, you're let down by your own company.
Well, and you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Like I paid to be here and we're not getting what we need.
So anyways, people do that to like save the sale because then you're like, whoa, I can't be angrier than the angriest person in the room.
Right. Yeah.
I better just chill out.
Yeah. But you know, if it's not your company, of course, like you don't want to drop the ball with stuff like that. And I'm not ever like trying to condone that behavior, but what I'm trying to say is like a lot of people say that they're so busy because they were just busy being stressed about something that they had no control over and that they have no power over even. And it's like, man, just let it go and move on to what you can do at your company, you know? So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah. I was going to say, did you know who the new CEO of Red Lobster is? Because we talked about Red Lobster here. We talked about the weird venture capitalist groups and all that stuff.
Eduardo Luz is the current CEO and president of P.F. Chang's.
Well, no, and he was just appointed in October.
I like that dude's last name. Go back up. I got to read it.
So
Damola Adam Olakun. He's got a good last name there.
Yeah, so he in October 2023 he took
I
over.
Butchered that though. Adam Olakun. How old is he? Are we for sure he's that young? Because he looks young. 34-year-old became the CEO of P.F. Chang's.
Yeah,
my dog.
But now he's the CEO of Red Lobster, and that's what I was talking about. So it's not the Mollicum guy. The Mollicum guy's out.
Oh, he left.
It's this guy. Eduardo Luz is the current CEO and president of P.F. Chang's. He was appointed in October 2023.
Okay, Eduardo Luz.
And I think that's what I was reading an article about how he hasn't officially taken the role, but he's going to take over the Red Lobster thing.
Let me see a picture of this gentleman.
Oh, there, Red Lobster. Yeah, see, who is it?
Come on.
Oh, yeah, September 24th.
Fortune.
From when he ran P.F. Chang's. Yeah, it's him. Oh, and he left Panera to go to... God, this guy's young and
Track
moving
record.
along. So yeah, he left Panera to go to P.F. Chang's, and what I was reading now is that he's going to take over Red Lobster. So this is all old articles you're looking at, like 2023 articles. So, but that makes sense. I feel like Panera got saved too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how hot they were doing, but I feel like they definitely got saved.
I feel like they stepped it up. They have that drink program that maybe profitable for them.
So who's it?
I don't really eat a Panera Bread. My wife loves it, but it's just like...
Oh, wait. So now I'm getting confused. It's like different
food.
people announced that former P.F. Chang's CEO will take on the same role so I don't know.
Yeah, so it's filed Chapter 11, Fortune's Development,
Yeah. So I don't know who is taking over, but whoever's taking over, they're only 35 years old, and they think they can save the brand. I read about like what they're talking about is they want to update the interiors. Obviously, they're not going to do endless shrimp.
Yeah.
For $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
But they talked about just increasing like service and the quality of it. I feel like you really only have one option, is to take it high end.
Yeah, I think you have to start over. I think if you have to shrink the footprint, you have to change the menu, you have to whatever. That customer just doesn't exist. That was at a time where like seafood was like
Right. Yeah, I will say that.
You
I
know
agree
what I mean?
with that. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you're gonna do. I mean, we have around here a shrimp baskets. I think that's the name of the business.
Oh, okay.
The shrimp basket.
We got Long John Silver's.
Yeah, like I just.
But I mean, we have tons of seafood places around here, and honestly, like that were on par with Red Lobster's pricing for like real seafood.
Right. And so, like, I don't know. I don't know who gets jazzed up to go there.
Yeah, so I really don't know what happened to fast food restaurants. Like not fast food like that. I guess what were those, fast casuals? I don't know what that's called.
Yeah, seated.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
whatever.
like, but anyways, like all of them, like. When I remember being a kid, Red Lobster was like a bougie restaurant.
Yeah, it was nice.
Olive Garden was
like
a nice
fancy
restaurant. It was like fancy to go there. So I don't know if they just started racing each other to the bottom, or if, this things have changed so much that like it's now easier to start these franchises and these chains, or just more local places have opened up that are like able to compete.
I think all of that has occurred. I think there are more options.
That Beppe de Pecco or whatever?
I don't know. I wasn't alive, obviously, during like the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there were more restaurants that I don't know about that have closed, but that were like independent mom and pop joints that maybe were popular.
Yeah.
I only know about these like surviving deals. But yeah, they've all kind of raced themselves to the bottom, like Chili's, O'Charlie's, Applebee's,
Ruby
Red
Tuesdays.
Lobsters, Ruby Tuesdays.
Bennigan's or something? Wasn't that one? Yeah, that one went out too.
Olive Garden. They've all declined.
That Beppe de Poke, whatever.
Yeah.
That one? They filed for bankruptcy too. We ate there in Utah, remember?
Yeah, Buco de Pepe.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So, I don't...
Yeah, I honestly one day hope there's like a Netflix documentary on like what happened.
Well, like inflation, the cost of it versus like... but I remember it being expensive then, but like maybe it was such a treat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like I ate out as much, even though I don't eat out that much now. I feel like
I mean, I remember
eating out was more of a like
Sunday after church.
Go out to
eat. Yeah, we go out to eat Sunday after church,
Right.
and it would be like the night, like we go to like a nice place, and it'd be like an Olive Garden or some stuff. But I also don't know if I was just because I was poor back then.
Yeah, and a kid.
Yeah.
You're part of a family. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to sound like bougie now, but it's just like if I'm gonna go spend like Olive Garden money, or like Aubrey wants to go to Cheesecake Factory for a birthday, like that kind of money, it's like I'll go to like a legit restaurant. You know?
Just spend a little more or the same amount and go to a nicer place. I don't know. It's kind of tough.
But I don't know if they're. Yeah, I don't know. It would be fun if there was ever a documentary on just like the wild success of like, chain restaurants and like the fall of these chain restaurants. I mean, maybe they were great in before venture capitalists and all those kind of people got involved. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it would be very interesting because like I said, my parents' first date was at a Red Lobster.
Yeah.
So like December 18th, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Kirsty and my first date was at Kobe, the Japanese sushi place that's on 23rd Street. They knocked it down after Michael. But, yeah.
Yeah. Aubrey and I's first date was at like a place called Daru Market for lunch. So it was like just like that one place would probably exist for a while, honestly, because it's not like a chain or anything like that. But
what kind of food was it? It's called what market?
DERU.
Okay.
But they had just like they had different like salads and meats and stuff like that, you know, kind of like a K Halls type situation, you know, where
like a deli,
like kind of deli. But yeah.
What we got up here on this list?
Well, the next thing you could jump into is a little bit more serious. The Trump. I love how the headlines are just funny to me, but Trump was the subject of an apparent assassination attempt at his Florida golf club. The FBI says. I know right when it came out, there were people saying like that there was just like shots fired in his vicinity.
Right.
And they called it like a golf course incident and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, now I think now they're like, you know, figuring out a little bit more, but the guy was about 400 yards away with an AK style rifle. An agent fired and the gunman dropped the rifle and fled in an SUV, leaving the firearm behind, along with 2 backpacks, a scope used for aiming, and a GoPro camera. Not really sure about the GoPro camera unless they were planning on like trying to like film it and put it on the internet, which that would just get taken off so quickly. I mean, it would survive somewhere on the deep crevices, but
and you would use a phone or something because you would need to be broadcasting it.
Right.
That camera that just
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many conspiracies. There's so many whatevers. It just.
Yeah. It just, for me, it's just like, you know, I've heard all the stuff about how like he wasn't even supposed to play golf. It was like a last minute decision too. His schedule was pretty much like open that day, and so like obviously there's like leaks, and then
kind
people
of
are
like our situation that we're going through. Is it evil or is it just levels of incompetence and negligence piled up on top of each other?
Yeah, it's funny going through the situation we're going through right now, which I can't wait to tell you guys about it. But it literally makes you go, okay, like, is this some complex, like very complex scam, which it could be,
right?
Or is it so many people dropping the ball? But still, even that, just, I don't know. There's some weird, it's weird. I don't know. We'll get into it because we just don't have enough information to share, but it's just, it's weird. But, you know, the FBI is investigating it. People are claiming that the FBI is compromised and they're the ones that leaked his location. And so then Florida now is doing its own investigation.
I'm glad DeSantis is stepping in and he, as he should. I mean, this is his state. It went on in his state.
Right.
It's a former president, current guy, you know, running for president. It's the governor. Feels like he would want to say, I'm going to give this some special attention. Make sure there's no, because I mean, it's a pretty important, I mean, who doesn't think this is an important election?
Yeah.
It's a pretty important election. Now, that said, I mean, there's just so much. The guy was very close. How do you know he's on the golf course? I mean, the guy has a kind of a strange past, did a lot of strange things. There's a lot of weird videos of him. Oh, man, like, it's just weird.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it, but just like all that whole situation, you're just like, everything just seems very fishy, you know? So, and then it's hard because obviously people come out and start saying these things with like such conviction that you're like,
well, we all know that the movies, the things that happens in the Mission Impossible or whatever, pick a movie, to some degree, some of it's real, right? To some degree, some of it's real. We all know that. We all know there's like the boogeyman and the whatever. To some degree, for some agencies, 3-letter
there's some
agencies.
To some degree, there's John Wick.
Yeah. And so like, well, is this something or is it not something? I obviously, you know, like I'm a dude. I like the fantastic. I like the Jason Bourne. Yeah. But like, I don't know. Is it just serious, gross incompetence? I almost want it to be the first one, so then it's not like the man is protected unless I think that we do have a real Secret Service. That's not how they respond, really.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is like you want it to be like this, like negligence or they mess something up, because truthfully finding out that like there is this like CIA operative or something like trying to assassinate the president, it sounds so much worse to like what the government would be having going on. You know what I mean?
But it's like where my brain is like, do I want everyone to be like levels of incompetence and us just like oops things to that high level, or do I want there to be a network of evil?
Yeah. Like it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
And it may be a combination of both.
Makes me want to move into the country and have a farm and something.
So I actually saw something the other day on that topic, and it said, how did we get from, like probably about 10 years ago, or even probably 5 years ago, look at my house, look at this, like look at all this stuff I've got, to like, I'm going to live on a farm and I'm building a homestead.
They saw
and
where it got them.
Creating a village of people to live with. And
they saw where it got them, man. Cool. Nice house, nice car.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And then, the squeeze. People are like, what am I working this hard for, when every time, like, I make more money, where's it go? It's like,
yeah.
So it's tough, man. I get it. People, that's what they're doing it in China. They're just like not doing anything. They're not protesting, just not buying things because they're not going to work. And I guess they're somehow scraping by with food or whatever, if there's a public program.
Yeah, it's like it's a weird economy that we built with capitalism of like, having to work to buy things, and you buy things to make you fit in to some kind of, group of people, and then, you have to continue to work to buy and creep up this ladder, and then you're in this competition with everyone over who has the greatest life almost, and it's just, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, that, and then just, I think everybody, like, I don't think, well, maybe there are people out there that don't, but I think no matter what your political opinions are, I think everyone should agree that they should deeply distrust their government, and there's shady stuff going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just don't care what you're for. It's just like, all of this mess is so unexplainable.
Yeah.
Just try not to get too into the specifics of the policies or politics, but like, gosh, man, I don't trust.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, it's hard for people. It's hard for me to understand how people don't recognize that, like, okay, if a company would do some shady stuff, like Volkswagen lying about emission standards and stuff to like get ahead, make more money or whatever, in my opinion, that's kind of like the natural, I don't know, the more I watch reality TV shows and stuff like that, I realize like everyone's the same to some extent. Obviously it's all a scale, right? Some people are going to be more greedy or more slimy, but at the end of the day, everyone is truly egotistical. Like everyone looks out for themselves, the people they care about, like whatever. But at the end of the day, like they look out for them and their tribe, and they will do what it takes to get them and their tribe ahead. And whenever you're just dealing with the government, they're just people. They're just people, and they're going to accept things that don't affect them to give them more money, and they're going to do things that benefit them and their tribe. And
I feel like it's professional wrestling now, dude. I think they fake fight. I think they fake argue with each other. I don't think any of it's real. You see them off on the sides of cameras just laughing and standing next to each other and talking and being whatever. And like, you've worked with them for 80 years or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
How are you now just upset with them? They just are doing whatever they're like told to do by who? Yeah. I don't know, but it feels coordinated. It feels like somebody gets an email sent around that's like, hey, this is how we feel about this. Like whatever their version of like an influencer is, like, hey, this is how we feel about this topic. And at the end of the day, every year they're going to pass some bill that has like 900 million freaking things in it.
Right.
And it's going to pass.
Yeah. And it's going to have all something.
And it's going to pass. Yeah. And they're going to say it's not going to pass. And they're going to say no. And they're going to threaten to freeze the government.
Yeah.
And the only people that really get affected by that are people that like first responders and shit a lot of times, like military, these congressmen who are making millions and millions of dollars a year, like we're threatening it on them. They don't care. They're making more money off the stock market than anything.
Right.
Then they're going to pass the bill, and then all their stocks are going to go crazy high, and they're going to make all this money, and we're gonna go yay.
And this is Republican, this is Democrat. Like I'm not trying to.
Then they're going to point at the other guy.
And so I think a lot of my like frustration comes down to like the fact that like at the end of the day, like I really don't even care who's president ever, because they're not for the people. We aren't their people. You know, and I think, you know, the lot of the we love Trump thing is because like he's not a career politician. Right. I'm not saying he's any better because he's a career business person and a career.
For me, it was the claiming to get rid of people in government that have just been there forever. And like, he didn't really, I mean, that hadn't been done, but like, that's term limits, stuff like that, boy. Like, just get this ickiness. Well, yeah,
I just like someone that somehow got into some position in the government in their 30s and now in their 70s, they don't know what my life is like.
They need to go.
40 years ago, my parents' life was vastly different than it is today. They would not be able, now that if they went into the government, they wouldn't understand what life is like now. If they had
been there for that long, it'd be like being a celebrity, you know, and then acting like you have any clue what it's like to be a regular person.
Right.
Like, you have drivers and you have like staff that do things for you. You fly private.
Well, it's just like, you know, you haven't had to pay for childcare. Like, you know, like you just haven't had to like, and when you did pay for childcare, it was probably like $100 a month, and now people are paying thousands of dollars a month. So it's just hard for me. It's just because like at the end of the day, the system is rigged, and it's rigged in the fact of like no one like me or you is ever going to get to a position to actually change anything. And no matter who you vote for, all that matters is you may get taxed a little more, you may get taxed a little less, but nothing's going to change your life.
Mass career suicide. You know, you would need so many people to like just vote that they don't get to stay in office any longer.
Yeah.
Like, they would have to vote in their own term limits and vote salary caps and vote their ability to make money in the stock market away. Yeah. And like they do, like, it's not even up to us. It's stupid.
Right. So I guess that's like kind of my point.
Y'all want to
lose
your income? No.
I get so sad with this like Kamala, Trump, if you support this person, you're a bad person, all this stuff is because like I think majority of people, if you really like sat them down, would probably feel the same way I feel. And it's just that like it really doesn't matter.
Well, people just get all hyped up on nothing.
And I'm sure I'll be told that it's a privilege that I say it doesn't matter, but it's what I'm saying is you'll wake up tomorrow and do whatever you want to do or whatever you need to do, no matter who's president. And I guess what I mean by it doesn't matter is like, no matter who's elected, I've got to continue to live my life and I've got to do whatever is best for my family. And that's what you got to do.
Yeah, man, you got to grind regardless. But I think all that's more of a, now look over here. Look at these.
Speaking of grinding, Sean, did he call himself like?
Oh gosh,
that's the worst segue in the world.
No,
I can't. Can't do it. I had to. You just set me up for that one.
No diddy, dog. No diddy.
So he has been officially charged with sex trafficking by force, transportation to engage in prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy, alleging he ran an enterprise that he engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, or kidnapping, arson, and other crimes. Arson. Wow, that's a weird. Like I feel like that's a weird one to throw in there, right? But
burn something down, burn somebody's house down.
But you need to tell the story about the rapper situation. Like, where did you hear it? Remember when you were talking about some of the rapper stories?
Okay. Well, 50 Cent has mentioned it on like some podcasts and stuff. I forget what they call it, the gimme parties or something. They always refer to his parties, and forever Diddy was known for throwing like Hugh Hefner or Playboy Mansion style parties. So everybody who's who was there, entertainers, actors. Obviously, in the music industry, a lot of times there are very famous underage people there. They're there.
Right.
And it was like joked about, but not really talked about. But come to find out that he had cameras in every room of the house, which means he would have had videos, whether they were doing anything wrong or not, of thousands of who's who from the earth. Right.
Yeah, I think it's something that we talked about before, and it was like, you were talking about like the biking gang, and they like blackmail you by one, they make you like kill someone and like hide the body. But then the other one is they make you do some things that are not
sexual things or just embarrassing things.
Yeah.
There was the Skull and Bones. It was rumored that they started with like killing and then ended, or more recently, it was like humiliating things that they would have pictures of that you're more afraid of, like having to answer your reputation, ego, protect your ego, like you said. Today, who knows whether they would even be incriminating, but like this dude had, at least allegedly, very incriminating things because of the persona, right? Like these guys are all gangster rappers,
right,
and they're all
doing things that gangster rappers wouldn't do.
Diddling each other.
Yeah. So the reason I brought up that thing I was talking about is because that is like the greatest form of blackmail, if you will, and is kind of Epstein's playbook from what has kind of been shared, is that Epstein had all this information on all these people by essentially luring them into sex crimes and then videotaping them and then being like, I own you now.
Well, it's an intelligence thing, right? And so if you want to go tinfoil hat, right, what's the likelihood that Sean Combs is, what do you want to call it, involvement with Biggie's death, Tupac's death, didn't get him picked up and turned into an informant, which would have been the start of his career, which would have been, hey, we want to keep tabs on all these things, da-da-da. That would go very nicely into what like Kanye West says about that industry and the prison industrial complex, and it just kind of fits and weaves, and this is a highly sophisticated thing that you don't know. Yeah, this man could have been like, oh, whatever, but it's a highly sophisticated thing, blackmailing people of this caliber. He's not blackmailing them for money. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's for power.
Right.
And like, obviously he's not going to have it in the homes of dictators, but like when you're a celebrity on this level, you're meeting dictators. You're meeting the who's who of the world.
But my question, I guess, is like some people would look at you and be like, well, that's a huge conspiracy theory. What if it's just like he's just a bad man?
No, he has videos of it. Like Cuba Gooding Jr.
Right.
is like in one of the videos. I haven't watched the videos, right? So, but I've watched a reaction thing to when he went to jail.
Yeah.
And I don't know who did it.
Maybe so my question is then who finally like pulls the trigger on getting a guy like him exposed for this kind of stuff? Because wouldn't it make the entire system look bad? That like now there's like
they'll have the ability to just kind of like walk away. You ever see that movie with Tom Cruise, where he's the spy? Oh gosh, he's a spy in every movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say
American
Cowboy.
No.
Okay.
Dang.
Is it where he's like the drug runner?
Yeah, yeah, that one.
Yeah, with the airplane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, the CIA guy's just like, who's whatever that name is.
Yeah.
Burn everything on him.
Right.
Boop.
Got you.
I mean, like, I don't.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just. Because what are you doing it for? Yeah, American Made. There you go. Good movie.
Who ended up catching him?
Him?
Yeah. Because he was working for the CIA to run the drugs. So how did he get caught in the end? I don't remember.
I actually don't remember either.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like who the person? Yeah, I have to watch it again. Yeah, like how he got caught in the end, and because you feel like if you're working for like if you're working for
that'd be terrible.
If you're working for like the CIA, that they would like almost protect you, but I don't feel like all those agencies don't protect each other.
Well, see, what they have the ability to do, all those agencies, is have the ability to have everybody look the other way. I need all units in this area to stand down. We're conducting an operation. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Just over a radio wave that who knows if that's recorded. Just
right.
I need everybody to just.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what we do in the military, right? You say like no one can go within these coordinates and stuff, and then
don't worry about what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We do that. We've
so
done
they have the ability to just be like.
But I would just tell you we were like tracking other submarines.
No units respond.
Like our own. Like
no matter what calls you get, it's a training exercise.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, we were talking about microplastics, the other day. And we talked about them like finding them in like men's testicles and like how they're linking that to like potentially be like lower testosterone and things like that. But now microplastics have been found in the brain. So right now they're saying how it can affect how we smell things. Or it says how we smell. So I don't know if it means like how we actually smell or how we smell things. I'm assuming it's how we smell things, but yeah, that's what's going on. Okay.
So the
Nasal
propylene
cavity.
is everywhere in furniture, rugs, clothes. So
My
we're
thing
breathing
is-
it in.
So like, I feel like
I don't think
people
breathing
say
it in.
like, you need to, trust the science, right? We've heard that, right? But it's just like at one point they were like, yo, this lead paint and this asbestos is
Safe
good to
for
go. This Agent Orange is good to go, right?
Safe.
And Roundup even, I know you worked in the landscape world. You're like, I didn't want to be anywhere near that stuff, right?
Nope.
So they talk about all this stuff and, I wonder what it's going to be like, is plastic that thing we're going to look back and we're like, holy crap, I can't believe we used to have plastic stuff or, you know what I mean? Because there's going to be something. You think Teflon?
I can't believe we used it. It was like a military coating for tanks to like keep chemicals off. And they were like, look how smooth it is.
Yeah.
Look, you can heat food on it. And because it was like off-gassing into
Right.
food.
Yeah, that's true. Teflon is
That's
great.
bad. And the company knew it.
Yeah.
DuPont.
Well, I mean, we've also talked about things like Tylenol.
Oh, yeah. Bad.
Yeah. Terrible. I sat next to, I told this story before, but I sat next to that pharmaceutical psychologist, whatever. He like deals with how drugs affect your psychology body, things like that. He literally he told me, he's like, I think that you can link Tylenol to autism.
Oh.
And he goes, I think that we're going to learn in whatever many years, because Tylenol is the only pain reliever that pregnant women can take. Yep. They can't take ibuprofen. Yep. And he thinks that he's like, I think we're going to look back and we're going to be able to link it to some way, to autism. Which,
yeah, man. Well, you do hear trust the science and all that stuff. But like, again, the most recent outbreak that we have is it's just been a long string of those and you don't know what to believe on any side of it. There were people screaming that like vaccines caused autism a long time ago.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, yeah, no, you're crazy, da-da-da. They kicked up more of them, and now they're like, well, maybe we should do some research. Well, and what I don't understand is why would you research something that has been just fully researched, exhaustively proven that it doesn't do it?
Right.
And then if so, why did you say that you did?
Yeah, or why'd you say nah in the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot what year it is, but like some year, like the amount of vaccines required of kids, like tripled.
Oh man!
And they were talking about it, and it was an interview. I want to say that Jim Carrey was like somewhere on the set during this interview, and they talked about it, and they're just talking about like the big pharma money. I mean, we give hepatitis B shots to like straight out of the womb, like that's the first shot that the baby gets, and hepatitis B is a sexually transmitted disease, or like a drug needle stick. That child, if you did. Like, I'm not saying be anti-vaccinating your child on hepatitis B. I'm saying, like, why do we need to give that to a newborn baby that's literally just come out of the womb?
Like, who says? Who was the one that brought that to the table?
Right.
When no vaccines were there, who was the one saying, babies need this vaccine?
Because when we got hepatitis B shots?
Lobbyists were saying it. And they were getting money for big pharma. That's it. Like, yeah. I mean, like, whatever.
I know. People think that we're paying conspiracy theory, but just sit back.
It wasn't like polio, man. It's not like there was like this obvious, like, holy moly, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
It was like literally no one. Hey, we got some more vaccines for y'all.
But we got our hepatitis B shots in middle school, me and you.
Yeah, I know. But it was like, I remember when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a new thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we got in middle school at the time, I think. So it's like, if it's effective in middle school, then like, why can't we just do it in middle school?
Makes a little more sense to do it then too. That's when kids are starting to like.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that a lot of people like are like, oh yeah, you're anti-vaccine. It's like, no, I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm just like anti-vaccine with no purpose. Like, of course, I don't want my kids to get hepatitis B, but like, Well, yeah, why are we giving hepatitis B shots at birth? Why, are we giving some of these shots? I actually there was a doctor who does pharmacy who was like, these are the shots I would not give my baby. And he went through them all. And he said a lot of them are terrible diseases, but the chance of contracting that disease, even around unvaccinated people, is super low. And then the recovery rate is so much higher. It's not worth getting the vaccine over,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's such a weird world we live in. I mean, we talked about it already about, people bringing up circumcision for boys because they say I remember people get mad when people would pierce girls' ears early in life because they're you never gave them a chance to not get their ears pierced if they didn't want it. Right. And so then the argument kind of fell onto circumcision. Well, you definitely didn't give them a choice. And it's why do we do it? Well, if you don't circumcise your son and you are, then they're going to be like, why does yours look different than mine? And then you have to explain that situation. And then, it's there's just layers to it. And I feel like it's just you know what? I ain't hurting you how I decide to live my life.
Yeah.
Let me live my life.
Keep it over there,
keep it over there.
Yeah,
So.
dude. Yeah, I'm big time, for the most part, libertarian across those viewpoints of just
Maybe it's all the microplastics in my brain though that's affecting my way of thinking.
Maybe.
So.
Well, I mean, there's so much, dude. Yeah. How do you even win? There's plastics in your brain, plastics in your balls. You got 5G beaming through you, Wi-Fi, GPS everything beaming.
At what point do we reach
Microwaves.
the Egyptians' technology and then just
Ascend.
descend into whatever?
I don't know. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, talking about that, just if you did all of a sudden people got smart enough to leave and then they just left all the stupid people behind. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't be left behind. I might be one of the stupid people. To replicate technology is pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
If you don't have the people and programs.
Yeah, dude.
So
Yeah, if you killed
if you killed half the world, UPS and FedEx would not run the same. Amazon would not work. Your electricity would go off.
Dude, I think if you killed less than 1% of the world, you could cripple innovation for decades. Because you would take the top 1%ers out.
Yeah.
The second 1%ers would just stay where they are. They're second place for a reason. I mean, they just are.
Yeah, I know.
Because that one place person is so much farther ahead of them.
If you had to grab just a random amount of a population of the whole world, what would be the randomized percentage of a population that you would need to do to cripple it? Because you picked the top 1%. If it was just gonna be sporadically, so it could be bottom, top people, middle people. What percentage you think you'd have to take to cripple the world?
Probably 20% of childbearing aged women.
Okay, interesting. Got you.
Why we'd probably go extinct.
Yeah.
I don't think the birth rate could keep
up. Yeah. For me, I was just thinking about if you took 10% of the population out.
Yeah.
Just based on the workers needed to just keep the population running.
Well, so everywhere's got this declining birth rate, right?
Yeah.
And so, literally, there's the thought of our countries being so relaxed on immigration just to literally make up for that. Because there is an amount of work that needs to be done to sustain society. And if people aren't having kids, then at some point that's going to be a problem.
Right. But then you look at AI and you go soon it's going to replace so much work. So
is it going to be a problem? You don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting. This is what happens when we have to chill out before podcasts. That's all I'm going to say. What's this masked man crashing through something? A masked men crashed through ceiling during robbery. Breaking through the ceiling business, stealing about 150,000.
Coming in.
Oh, he landed on his feet.
Yeah.
Wow. That's actually pretty amazing.
Athletic.
It's a bank. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's a bank or somewhere with bulletproof glass, and they somehow got
went up and over
in the ceiling and went through. That's wild. You never think about, hey, I got to secure all the way up into the ceiling.
Yeah, you do. I do. If I'm thinking about making something secure.
Yeah.
Because, dude, them drop ceilings, you go right up and over. You probably could have just grabbed the top of the wall, I wonder, and used it as a top,
Oh, and jumped over it? Yeah.
I always look at how those things are built. I'm not ever planning on robbing a bank, but I'm always like, how secure is this?
Yeah. Well, I think it's normal.
Yeah. Well, some of them do they put on.
I do. I look at it, especially when they're building the bank. I'm like, oh, I know where the vault is now.
Yeah. Well, you look at it and you're like, why y'all got this thick ass glass here? This ain't this is too much. Like, I'll just wrap a chain around this thing and snatch it out of my truck.
Yeah. Well, also I look at them building bank vaults and I'm like, bro, it's just cinder blocks filled with concrete. That's like not really.
Nah, not vaults.
Vault. I was talking about just like a local bank.
I don't know how they build them to code, but I know a guy that does vaults and septic tanks. Yep.
Vaults and septic tanks?
Yep. So he just has if you're getting like a massive septic tank, I don't know what kind of industry business, whatever.
Okay.
He's like, man, it's basically a big concrete box. I've got the equipment to handle these like concrete boxes.
Okay.
And dude, one of his trucks looks like a wrecker. I don't know. It's huge, and it's got this like grapple thing on it. And he's like, that's just for standing up the wall panels.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, they're like probably 2-3 feet thick.
Of concrete?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I feel like that's still not that thick. Like with an explosion pointed the right direction.
So concrete, yeah, here you go. But concrete comes down to
thick. Okay,
comes down to they hit that bitch with a core drill though. Damn, I wonder how long that took. It comes down to the tensile strength, the PSI rating of the concrete.
Right, yeah.
Because some concrete is just harder than hell, dude. You can hit it with a sledgehammer and it'll bounce off.
So BASF was involved in creating the concrete for the one tower.
Oh, cool.
Like, because they created some kind of additive that made the concrete so strong that they could make the whole tower.
Dude,
out of concrete,
I hit this. So they had this materials lab out at the research lab out at Tyndall, and they had a couple of cool projects. And since I was a bigger guy, anything that was like, "Hey, yo, break this thing," they would like be like, "Hey, Adam, can you come help us?" And so one was like unbreakable glass, which is cool. It was much stronger than the stuff you see at like the mall. I mean, they had me taking like a fucking torch and like a fucking all kinds of tools to it. But this was like concrete. It was like a 2 foot by 2 foot by like 2 foot square-ish block.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yo, try and break it with a sledgehammer." And it was like, it sounded like I was like hitting glass or something. I don't know. It just like, pow, and like would bounce like a sledgehammer. Nothing.
Right.
Didn't chip the surface, didn't anything. And it was some kind of special concrete they were working on. They had this really porous concrete, or not porous. They had this concrete that like they could dump a ton of
water. I've seen
it. Just disappeared.
Yeah, I've seen it. They were talking about making it like mall parking lots out of that because malls have a big problem with rain. Well, like our mall is bad with rainwater runoff because they are such a large area of concrete. And like they're like, if you had this,
they were saying this was like for fuel spills and for
yeah, just suck it right into the ground.
Get away from the planes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But still, I've seen it. It's pretty wild, that concrete. I feel like we're on about an hour, are we not? Yeah. So in here, I've gotten like 5 phone calls, so I
have 2, dude. My phone's been blowing.
I know. It's about anyways, hopefully we'll be able to share with you good news about this weird situation. So, anyway, I guess the last thing we didn't touch on is that the billionaires came back from the space mission. So
the who? Oh yeah, that's right.
That did the space
billionaires
walks.
In space, y'all.
Yeah. So it is wild to me that it's like people have so much money. They're like, yeah, I'll spend $200 million to go up here and do this spacewalk. Yeah. Also, who taxed that? What government? Nobody, but anyways.
Dude, just... This is pretty dope, though.
They didn't go to the moon, though. They just did a spacewalk. Anyways.
Gosh, trusting that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. When you got that kind of money, like, well, I mean, look at the people that did the Titanic thing.
That's what I'm talking about. After that, it's like...
I would trust that more than I trust the Titanic thing, though.
Who made this? SpaceX?
SpaceX.
Oh, yeah. I trust that more than that.
Yeah, but yeah.
You don't know, man. Elon's doing a lot of stuff. You don't know what has his full ass attention.
Yeah.
I'd be like, Elon, you work on this directly? You did it?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
You didn't have the new guy on it, right?
Yeah.
Y'all done this before? Because of space?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I guess that's when you're that rich, that's what you get your kicks, like your thrills out of. Because you're just like so rich, you can do anything. So you're just doing shit that now like no one could do. Because
hopefully
like,
it's that type of stuff and not the ditty stuff.
For me, I'd be like, I'm too young to do this. I got a little bit of life left to live. I'm not trying to go up there and die. Like, I don't know. You got so much money. Like, it feels like that'd be a pretty good life. worth an estimated $2 billion. Still, 200 million when you're only worth I say only 2 billion, but like 200 million, that's a lot.
I know, dude. I just can't imagine. Like, if you have go walk around in space money, like, there's got to be days where that guy's like, man, I'm so bored. I have nothing to do. It's like, you can do anything. Yeah. Literally.
Pretty much. It's wild. So he's a thrill seeker. Yeah. Yeah. You only get one crack at life. Well, he's still kicking, so it worked out for him, not the Titanic people. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this podcast that went from Trump to diddlers to microplastic and men falling from top of
and everything in between.
Yeah. So you're worth it. Do our shit.
See you.